This is a brand new experiment in podcasting that we're about to embark upon. And you happen to be lucky enough to be listening to season 1, episode 1 of a podcast that we're calling
Minute 1.
Minute 1, possibly Doppelgamers. We're going to explain why. But my name is Chris Melissinos, and I'm the principal evangelist for video games at Amazon. But I think more importantly than that, I've been in the industry for probably 25 plus years or what have you. So kind of seen a lot. And I am joined here today with my co-host on this new endeavor.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself.
Absolutely, Chris. Well, first of all, my name's Larry Hryb. Most people probably know me as Major Nelson. I worked at Xbox for 23 years, at Microsoft for over 30. Currently I'm the director of community and evangelism at Unity Advocacy. And I'm excited to be here. I mean, I have been off air for almost over 2 years now. I started and launched one of the very first gaming podcasts at Xbox, or the first gaming podcast at Xbox.
Yeah.
And ran it for 20 plus years, hundreds of thousands. I don't even know how many episodes we did, Chris. But I've been in the industry a long time as well. And the funny part is, you were doing your gig, I'm doing my gig. We never met, and we still haven't met in person.
That's right.
It's only been virtually, but we never actually met. And about 6 or 8 months ago, we finally reached out. I'm like, wait a minute, why aren't we talking together? And then it just led to this.
It did. And so it's so funny. So we have met before, but it was always in passing at an E3 show. Oh, hey, good to see you, blah, blah. But we never had the chance to sit down. And so what was really an awesome and lovely surprise was back in the fall of last year, you had reached out and you're like, hey, maybe we should connect and have a proper conversation. Once we jumped on camera with each other, we were like, okay, oh my goodness, why did we wait so long? Number one, right? Which totally ridiculous. And it was just, you're able to just jump right back into where we were and the kind of things we were doing throughout our career, and realized, oh my goodness, we kind of look a bit alike and maybe sound a little bit alike.
We've got the gray hair, we've got the glasses, the headphones, the microphone, that we worked in the games industry. So there we are.
Exactly. 2 MCs and 2 microphones. But then it was like, all right, maybe we should just, we would love to just start having these conversations. So part of the discussion that Larry and I, were having was really around all of the incredible news outlets and all of the incredible work that's done in game journalism and podcasting and everything else. But for our generation of gamers, right, which is kind of that Gen X, Gen Y gamer, it's also, is there a voice for them? Are there, pieces of information or advice or conversation we can have with that generation as well? And so it kind of led to, let's go ahead and just start this thing and see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, that well said, Chris. I mean, it's one of those things where you and I have a collective over, half a century of time in the games industry.
Yeah.
I've shipped and helped ship hundreds of games and multiple consoles and multiple platforms like you have. You've worked on the back end of a ton of games and whatnot. But we've got this shared experience. Our generation, people our age and a little bit younger, a little bit older, we grew up with video games. It did not exist. Just like the younger kids have grown up with the internet, we grew up with video games.
That's right.
Right. We had a controller in our hand, whether it was one stick with a one button, from the Atari 2600 all the way up to, the AR and VR stuff that we're seeing today.
Yeah. And what I love though, right, and when we think about that, so that generation, the Gen X generation, is the last analog generation and the first digital generation at the same time, right? So we were transitioning out of that analog space into a digital world. We were the first ones to, appropriate computers and technology into our lives. Then we started raising our kids with a love of technology and engagement there.
Yeah.
And throughout the continuum of our lives, we can look back, pretty much anybody in our generation can look back and say they remember when video games were important. They remember when they were playing with friends, practically anybody. And even if you said, oh, I'm not a gamer and I don't play video games, there was some point in your life where there was you engaged with video games. You had friends that engaged with somehow it's part of your existence, right?
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to point out, Chris, is you said something interesting. Like some people say they're not gamers, but I know there's a ton of people that play board games. And I will tell you this, I have visited hundreds of studios in my career, video game studios.
Mm-hmm.
And I can honestly say, I don't think I've ever seen one without a set of board games out that are using for inspiration, or they just love board games. But the board game concept is in video games all the time. It's just a different sheen. It just looks differently. The RNG is different, things like that. So all of the elements are there. It's just digital, to your point, versus analog.
Yeah, exactly right. And video games are just an extension of what we've always done, which is play. And every recorded period of our existence in building societies from the very earliest forward, they describe the games they play, right? Even some of the oldest games that we have gleaned from hieroglyphics.
Yeah, to your point, games have been around for years. One of the games my daughter loves playing, it's a simple game. It's called Mancala. It's the one with the little stones and you put them in little things. And that's been around. I mean, it's I can't even imagine, thousands of years. It's exactly, it's ancient because it's using things that people found around their villages.
Yeah.
And having that concept of gaming evolve to where we are today. And to be honest with you, I don't even know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right. Where is gaming going to go? People think it's AR and VR, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. It's going to be something that you and I may see in our lifetime that we never even considered.
That's exactly right. And look, I know we are now just rip roaring straight down that trail of discussion, but let's talk a little bit about kind of what this podcast, this series of discussions,
this is an experiment. This is an experiment.
Exactly.
Let's be very clear.
Yes. It's not a pure industry news program. We have a ton of outlets for that. And I wind up doing those, every week with colleagues, like Dean Takahashi and Mark Delore and Susan Cummings, right? It's also, this is Larry and Chris sitting down to have these conversations and to hear from you all as well and to engage the community. And what it really is, it's about, again, that the observations and commentary from, each of us more than 25 years or collectively, half a century of experience in the games news. So you can expect to hear some personal anecdotes, stories, opinions, maybe some spicy takes, but always constructive, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So
let's be clear. You and I don't want to speak for you, Chris, but I kind of will.
You can.
We owe so much to this industry. It's given us our livelihood. And I was just chatting with a friend of mine at a major handheld company, and that's all I can say. I can't really say which one it is. And she described it perfectly. She's like, she loves shipping consoles because it brings joy to people, and that's the business of video games. And whether it's a console or PC or mobile, we bring joy. We bring entertainment. We are the entertainment industry. So.
Tying directly into that, and I promise everybody, this was not planned. I'm so glad you brought up that comment though from your friend, because a friend of mine took his son, who I think is 10 or 11 years old, to wait for 24 hours outside of a store for the Switch 2. They were first in line, and at midnight, they go in there and they buy the Switch 2, and he tells his son, when you go outside, hold it up. So they walk outside and he holds it up and the whole crowd just erupts. They're applauding him and everything else. And as they're walking back to the car, my friend is still recording his son. He's just like, so what do you think, bud? Was it worth it? He goes, 24 hours. He's like, yes. And the kid is literally like jumping up and down as they're heading to the car. And he's like, we did it. We did it. It's more than just the device. It's more than just the games. It's that shared experience that he now has with his father that will forever be part of their story.
Yeah, well, it's the most important. One of the most important things in this industry is the community. You and I are blessed because we get to work in the industry, but there's so many parts of this industry. There's the developers, but more importantly, there's the consumers, the gamers, the people like yourself that are home deciding what to download, what to play, what to buy, and you're having this experience. Look. I assume, Chris, you played Red Dead Redemption, right?
Yes.
And we hopefully, that's an amazing story. We had that at the end, and I don't want to have any spoilers, but it was an emotional ride that cannot be equaled in any other media.
Right.
And when we connect with somebody who had a similar experience, you did that too? Oh my God, I didn't know that. Wow, wasn't it amazing? I mean, it's our collective experience as a community in games, and that's the glue that keeps us all together.
Yeah. And to your point about those personal experiences, we got to experience the same story beats, the same framing, but we got to experience it from our own perspective, right? Personally. So if we sit down, watch a Star Wars movie, you're like, oh, do you remember when this happened? Do you remember when that happened? We remember all of those things in sequence. We walk the same corridors with those characters. Laser blasters all go off at the same time for each of us. And what we do is we kind of bring in the people that are around us. But in video games, you and I still traverse the same story, but we may take very different approaches, very different perspectives, right? Different character build, different story components. That's what makes video games so unique.
Yeah, well, the other thing I love about gaming is, I worked in the broadcasting for a long time. I did some work in the movie industry, television. That's linear storytelling. And what we love about video games, and everybody else loves about video games, is like, you're the main character. You can decide, do I want to go through that door? Do I want to jump out the window? How am I going to do it? How am I going to solve the puzzle that's in front of me? Because that's really all video games are, puzzles. And we all do them differently. Some are very creative and like, oh, I would have never thought of that. And of course, there's what in the industry we call the main line, right? Or so that's what we love about this industry is it's non-linear. We can go at I've been known to go into. I'll give you a great example, Chris. When GTA came out, GTA, what is it, 5? Love that game. Takes place in the facsimile of Los Angeles. And I'm a frustrated architect, and I love swimming pools.
Okay.
I spent 3 or 4 hours one afternoon jumping the fence of all the different houses in the area that based on Beverly Hills, and taking photos of all the different pools, which were all different. Somebody had gone in and done, an artist had gone in and made all those changes and made them all look different. But I was looking at it from, I love to take pictures, but I was also appreciating the fact that somebody went in and did all that work.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, okay. So, I mean, if that's what you like to photograph, you would have been right at home, right? During the 70s and 80s, during the skateboard craze, right? During the drought, and all those pools are empty, and you go skate and grind them. But then, of course, you mentioned swimming pools, and yes, GTA, but then I started thinking, oh, goat simulator. When you would have that crazy ass goat running around those empty pools with the trampolines and everything else, right? But to your point, just like, it's important to remember when people watch animated films, every drop of snow in a scene, every blink of an eye, every wrinkle of a brow, those are all artistically decided things that occur on screen, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing in games where everything is placed. There is an artist that, a designer, an auteur that has placed all of these things. So, tell me, Larry, what kind of either stories or things that have kind of popped into your notice this week that you're just, salivating to go ahead and get out there and have some commentary on?
Well, I don't know if I want. It's not commentary. It's maybe it is an observation. I think it's just the continued trouble that the industry is having. Mm-hmm. I have many friends who lost their job at Microsoft recently over the past few months.
Right.
And I can't really talk about any other game or game company, and it's been really troublesome because the tech industry as a whole, and then of course the games industry as a whole, is just. It's under such pressure, and it feels broken. And that's the only way I can describe it. It's just something's broken and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. I get that same sense. And, I think it would be trite to say that it's in transition, right?
Right.
Because, the very real impact to people that choose to make this art are facing right now. The industry is, one of the most tumultuous periods I think I've ever, or we collectively have ever experienced, in this space. But what the flip side of that is, in that uncertainty, is also opportunity, right? I think what we've watched happen over the past few years, right, with the democratization of information, the commoditization of technology, access to tools and things like that, basically being brought down to zero, means we have a ton of content coming into the world from all over the place. So it changes the way I think we think about the size of companies that can make video games. And so you have this massive amount of content that's coming in from the edge indie space, but it generates the least amount of revenue overall. And then you have the AAA content, the least amount of which is generated, right, in tonnage, but generates the most revenue. Where's the mid-tier?
Yeah.
Right, that seems to have evaporated. So when I think about the opportunity going forward for the game spaces, who are the studios, the small like shadow publishing studios that are going to be able to come in and say, I don't need to make a AAA and I don't need to make, experimental indie, but what I can do is create that 10, 12, 15 hour well-crafted story that sits right in the middle peak. So what I think is going to wind up happening is just gravity itself, right, is going to start to pull kind of those opportunities back to center. And if I was starting a studio today, that's where I'd be looking. It's not about live ops or this or trying to build a big AAA. It's about how can I craft well-told stories, well-architected gameplay that I can produce faster than an 80-hour game, but still be compelling and valuable at that, again,
and quality
12-hour game.
Yeah. I mean, what we're seeing in the games industry is unfortunately what has happened to Hollywood. And I am not a fan of superhero movies. I don't have an emotional connection to superhero movies. I find them all copy pasted to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And I like good stories, and some of them are fine stories, but I just don't prefer it. And it's just Hollywood is so focused on just doing version 2 and this multiverse and all of that, and that's fine. And some of it's kind of happened a little bit to the games where game developers and publishers are like, ooh, gotta go with a safe bet. It's got a 2 or a 3 at the end of it. Hopefully it'll work. Right. If it's just going to be an extension. So I some of to your point, some of the most exciting experiences are coming out of the indie space because they're experimenting. It's like indie movies. Some of the most interesting, thought-provoking things are coming out of these people that are taking real gambles.
Yeah, I know, I completely agree. But if it feels like this change is happening, we have to figure out what those guideposts look like so we can help to chart a healthy expansion, right, of games again. And the other part of that too is discovery. I can't help but think back to the video game crash of 1982 and 83. If you study your history, listeners, right, and you take a look at what happened there. Now, Chris Kohler, he and I had a conversation many years ago about this.
I have not talked to Chris in a long time. How is he?
He's doing fantastic. At least the last time I saw him, he's over at Digital Eclipse, which is owned by Atari now. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the people that they have there, doing all the retro games and the remake stuff. It's the perfect confluence of people, brilliant expertise, and brand. Absolutely huge fans of them. But anyway, Chris and I were talking about this years ago, and I was like, well, I don't know if necessarily the video game industry crashed, but it certainly, we pivoted towards, home computers, right? That was really the same rise there. But what did really kind of precipitate the crash there was so many companies just saw video games as a cash grab or a way to promote their product, and versus building good games. And consumers were like, okay, my tax office just released a video game, right? That's like clearly a ripoff of Pac-Man, and it's terrible. Why am I paying $30 for this, right? And so you had people not being able to understand what was worth their money or time, and so people walked away from that. The good news was, that home computers, VIC-20, Commodore 64, Apple II, all those kind of picked up that steam. The same kind of thing happens here if we don't start to figure out how to provide better discovery mechanisms for content, because just the amount of content that comes out can be really overwhelming for a consumer, to the point where they go, it's that the fallacy of more choice, right, creates more opportunity. It's you get paralysis when you have that much choice. So how do we get better at surfacing content that may be relevant to a person, right? Show them things that they may not be able to find on their own. since you mentioned that you like to play, tell us a bit about what you're playing. Like, what's got your attention right now?
I'm playing. I've got an Apple Vision Pro because there's a lot of Unity games on it. So I'm checking out a lot of those. I won't. Let me turn on my console because I've got so many interesting things I'm playing.
Excellent.
I don't know where my controller is. Oh, here. There's a bunch of things I'm playing right now. I'm going back and kind of going through my backlog a little bit. We talk a little bit about the backlog. There's the Savage Planet game, which Raccoon, I think I remember the Raccoon Studios. I'm mispronouncing it, but I'm playing the Revenge of the Savage Planet right now, just kind of because I played the first one, I loved it,
right?
And that's available now. I don't want to pimp Game Pass too much, so I'm playing that. The other one I'm playing right now is Rematch, which is a soccer game, which it's a ton of fun. It's available on Game Pass now. You can download it. It's on PC. It's on a bunch of different platforms. But it does something different, Chris. It's like it uses the right trigger to shoot on the goal, and it feels good. It really feels good. And there's some other stuff in there as well. So I'm playing a little bit of that. What else do I have over here? Let's see, Rematch, Overwatch. I'm back into Stadium a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
Firebreak, Blueprints.
Oh, Blueprints. I'm still not through it.
So those are kind of the ones. And there is actually, I was talking about my Apple Vision Pro and I check out all the, because there's a lot of games on Apple Arcade, which are Unity created with Unity, who I work for. So I'm checking some of those. And there's a golf game over there that I play all the time. Which is golf? No, it's not. I played that one. It's like a proper golf game.
Oh, okay.
But it's a lot of fun, and they've got this like little tournament where you can do one and done. So you go every 30 minutes, it changes a hole, and then you can play it, and then you stop. You could get 5 tries to get your best score. And I got to tell you, you may see Major Nelson showing up because I'm doing pretty darn good over there for some reason.
My biggest problem with playing golf IRL is I used to play. Early on in my career, when I wasn't in the game space, when I was at Sun, I used to sell big systems to big companies and the military and the government.
That's where the deals are done.
In Northern Virginia, in DC, oh, you bet your ass. Like, it's a requirement. Like, you have to play golf. And but then once I had back surgery years ago, I was like, oh, well, now I have the perfect excuse to not have to go play golf, to not frustrate myself 2 hours into a 4.5 hour round.
See you at the 19th hole.
Exactly. And I can go, man, I could buy 2 new games for what I just paid to frustrate myself and sweat and swear out here.
Right.
So I'll go pick up some more games. You all enjoy your game of golf, and I'll see you some Tiger Woods golf on our console.
So I'm always looking for the next game, the next interesting title, like we all are. So I'm just kind of going through and doing that. So what about you? What are you playing?
Well, I was going through my so I did a bunch of pickups. Obviously, the Steam summer sale was going on right now. So I picked up some stuff, and then Switch. Oh my goodness, on the Switch too. The catalog depth there that they have, right, for everything from indies forward is just extraordinarily huge. And so I picked up some stuff that I'd either been missing or just needed to go back and play. So West of Loathing, which is a little RPG, but all of the characters are stick figures. Everything is just line drawings, and it's a very humorous RPG. Picked that up. I picked up Deliver Us the Moon. Really eager.
Oh, I love that. I played that on Xbox.
Nice. Yes, I hadn't played it. I'm like, I think it was like $4 or something. So I'm like, okay.
A good one.
I picked up Gris, Super Monkey Ball, Banana Mania, all the monkey balls, right?
All the monkey balls,
in one place. What I get, Catherine.
I played that too, yeah.
Hazelnut Hex, a side-scrolling shooter. Road Redemption. I'm a huge Road Rage or Road Rash fan, not Road Rage. Road Rash fan. Road Redemption is basically kind of a modern take, on the vehicle finding thing. But of course, Road Rash, the greatest version is the 3DO. If you have access to a 3DO, that is the one to go ahead and play. Anyways, I picked that one up, and Broforce, which is so much fun, and Picross, the Namco one. So it's all Pac-Man and Mappy characters and stuff like that, right? So
All right, I'll
I
take a look
picked
at
up a
that.
whole bunch of those. And then on Steam, what I just picked up the other day, I picked up Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy.
Yep.
Complete remakes of the first three. Sonic Frontiers, Star Wars Battlefront 2, which I had on Xbox and had on PlayStation, but it was $4.
Yeah.
Right, for the PC. And then, of course, Power Wash Simulator, you know, I still play and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I wind up touching a lot of different games. I never get to complete any of them, really. Right.
Well, that's there and there. You know, that as I would always tell people that want to join the video game industry, I'm like, it's a great industry. We have a ton of fun. But the dirty secret is once you join the industry, you're so busy you don't have time to play any games.
I know. I've given the same advice to people. Said, be careful when you make what you love your job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're not careful, you can you can hurt yourself in it a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so that's what I'm playing right now. And yeah, you know, look at the backlog of content that I've got. I mean, I could stop buying now and just play for years and never.
That's the way it always is. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I've got, you know, copies of every Xbox game released over the past, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of Xbox.
Yeah.
And so I jump into some of those, but yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for some good, but I'm not the person who goes over and like, oh my God, this game's on sale at Steam. I'm going to buy it and never play it. I'm very selective about the games that I buy and play. Cause I know that time is very important. I don't have a lot of it, you know, with what we do. So
yeah, I get sucked into the other side of that, which is, for $4, yeah, I'll get it. Now I'll play it at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and then somebody actually they built a website that you put in your Steam information, everything, and then it will tell you which games you haven't played, which games you have, how many hours of gameplay you haven't done yet. And so when you see it, you're like, oh my goodness, yeah, that's pretty horrible. I'll see if I can dig up the URL and post it like in show notes and stuff like that. But,
yeah, please do. Please do.
Yeah, that one is a pretty good one. Yeah, so that's what I've been kind of messing about and playing around with.
You know, Chris, I've got, you know, in addition to gaming, I'm a hardcore nerd, so I do all sorts of stuff. I've got a server that I'm building that I'm putting all Docker containers on Unraid. I've been on the Unraid podcast show. I don't know if you use Unraid, but it's amazing. I'm redoing my home network outside right now, Chris. Right now, I'm so excited. They're running fiber optic down my street, so I'm finally going to get off of, you know, some old school copper cable and get onto.
Yeah,
so
like we were
so
saying, that
about
the 12-lane information superhighway.
I'm gonna go 24 lanes. I'm telling you. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah. So I mean, I just a lot. Plus, it's also, you know, you're, just to be clear, we haven't really even said this. We're halfway through the show. I'm in Seattle. You're on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So it is Seattle in the summer is probably one of the most spectacular places on the planet. And so, you know, that's it. Really, just even though today's a little bit cloudy, it's usually pretty sunny and 72. So I spent a lot of time outside and just kind of doing that. But yeah, it's I've got a lot of different things I'm working on. I'll tell you that, Chris.
Well, that's all. And yes, the same, right? So it's funny. I've been running a NAS at home for a number of years, but then every once in a while I'm like, you know what I need to do? I need to go in and do a good cleanup on stuff, and I need to restructure everything. And it's so satisfying when you do it. But I'm actually building something called a retro NAS, and a retro NAS has a bunch of tools that are designed for like cataloging retro games and things like that, and then providing a central repository that you could then go ahead and use your central game set. So I may be running 2 different NASs at home here.
Well, I'm telling you, Chris, we don't want to turn this too nerdy, but I'm telling you, I built so Unraid, which is basically a NAS. It's a commercial product, but you basically build your own PC, or you can use an old PC. And the beauty of it is you can mix and match all different size and styles of hard drives.
Yeah.
And so it just works. And I've got Docker containers on it, a virtual machine. It is, if you want to do that, trust me, it's worth it.
All right. Yes. Yeah. No, definitely. I love it. And then, of course, I do a lot of 3D printing at home. Love it. Love the hobby.
I have not gotten into 3D printing yet.
Sir.
Not that I just don't know. I don't know why. I just haven't.
See, look, you could populate your whole workspace with all sorts of, you know, community built models and things like that. And so now I have got, I think, maybe 45 or 50 different little placards here that hang up all over the office and things like that. And of course, like my wife would say, is this totally necessary? I'm like, no.
Right.
But it's amazing, right, that you can do that.
Well, it's interesting because I'm at this point in my life after, in my career where I have just probably like you, I have so much stuff that I've collected. I'm like, the way I describe it is I'm like a Katamari ball in the industry. Where I'm just like pulling things. I start out little, then you just get more and more. So I have to be very selective about some of the things that I bring home.
Yeah.
So I am very, very, because I just, I don't have endless room, but I want to. So anyway, so I'll share, maybe on a future show, I'll share some of my most precious objects.
We should absolutely do that. And I'm with you as well. It got to the point now I started to thin out some of my collection. I'm like, I'd rather make things for myself versus just bbing those things.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
And so that's really where I've leaned into.
But some of them are real meaningful. Like I've got, I'll tell you this story. I don't think I've told this one. I have my original Xbox 360 that was a launch gift.
Okay.
Still sealed. I've never opened it in 20 years. So I've got that. I've got all the consoles I got as launch gifts. I've got controller, and the list goes on and on and on. So.
All right, so maybe we'll discuss that because now you're popping just a couple of memories into my brain pan there. That's a big one for you. Like, what is a gift that you may have received from somebody in the industry that was unexpected and very moving for you, very meaningful?
It's one that there's a couple, but one that sticks out is in 2003 or 2 when I joined the Xbox team, we were deep in the middle of planning Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
And it was codenamed Xenon. And we had a super secret book called the Book of Xenon. And there weren't many of them, but it was actual physical book.
Mm-hmm.
And I have one. And it's the you can see how we thought about and what we laid, and when it's so great to go back and I open that up and how we nailed every single objective we wanted to do in there. So that is because that was such a special moment in my life.
Yeah. And
to have that document of like, here's what we're going to do. And then when I think back of here, we actually did it.
That's so cool.
So that's one of the items. And then the other items are like every 5 years you would get us a gift when you were at Microsoft. You get this crystal. So I've got the 5-year, the 10-year, the 15-year, the 20-year. So I've got all of those. So that's not really games industry, but it is
the result of the output of your work and your passion and your leadership and building community and doing all of those things. So
I've got like this.
awesome.
I've got like this Assassin's Creed piece of art, which is of 1 of 200 that was done. Got a certificate of authenticity on the back. I'm sorry.
No, that's exactly the question. The answer to the question.
This is a game I worked on tangentially that I'm so proud of, and that is an original cell from Cuphead.
Oh my, yes.
So things like anyway.
So all right, so Cuphead. So you got that was something that you worked on, and
yeah.
And as you were saying, it's those things that tie back to the people that you worked with, the content that you worked with.
I have a really interesting story. I have a niece who's about 25 years old, my sister's daughter. She came out to visit us in Seattle a few weeks ago, and she had a Steam Deck. And so we were talking about it, and she said, "Oh, I said, what she's kind of a, book nerd. She's great." And I said, "Well, what are some of your favorite games?" She says, "Oh, I love this game that takes place in the medieval times and you're a monk." And I'm thinking, okay, I know what it is. I said, "Well, what is it?" She said, "Pentiment." And I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Pull it up. So let me see it." So she pulls it up. I said, "Uh-huh." And then I said, "Do me a favor. Can you go to settings?" She's like, "Go to settings." I said, "Go down to credits." She clicks on credits. And she's reading through the credits, and it scrolls by, and I'm in the credits for Pentiment. She's like, "Oh my God, you're in the credits." I said, I know. So it's the moments like that where I have a few nieces, when they were younger, they didn't really care about video games, and now they do. So it's fun to have that conversation with them. So things like that are just really special moments for me.
Yeah, you know, and it's not often where you can still be a prophet in your own land, right? So when you're able to share those, and it's like, oh, that's really cool, you know. Like for me, my kids growing up, they're like, oh, you know, that's what dad does, you know, for a living, right? Kind of thing. Every once in a while, there's something that, you know, that they come across and they were like, okay, like maybe, you know, I'm sure your niece, you know, or maybe she kind of has done this forever, like Googled your name and seen the stuff that you've done.
Yes, they know. And I tell them, please don't Google my name. Just don't.
I will share one with you that my oldest daughter, when she was in college, she is sitting in class, and I forget which class she was in, but the teacher had brought up a quote of mine from either a book or an interview or something about art. And Alexandra, my oldest, was like, what? Like the teacher never put together the last name and the student in the room type of thing.
Did she flex and say that, oh, that's my dad?
They typically don't, but she did grab a picture and she's like, what the hell, you know, type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Or I'd get, you know, like my kids were in middle school. It's like, yeah, we saw you with spiked blonde hair, you know, on the set of Level Up when you were doing the TV type show stuff. And I'm just like, how do we scrub that? You don't want to see your dad with boy band hair.
Right.
You know?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. I mean, but you and I, you know, we're both gray now, but there's a lot of video of us on the internet with not gray hair.
Yeah. The internet doesn't forget, which is fine, right? That's all part of who we are. But, you know, when you're talking about, you know, the things that are super meaningful for you, I have this one piece in my collection. It is a Pong board, arcade board, but back before Atari was Atari, back when it was called syzygy. So it says Pong syzygy on the board.
Do you know what syzygy means?
Yeah, it's when all the planets move into alignment, right?
Yeah,
and
it's one of my favorite words.
Yes, and it was a candle company in the Valley, and which is why they had to change the name. So what had happened was years ago, I had met Mike Micah over dinner, and Mike Micah is games industry legend. He's
been in it forever. Yeah.
And when it comes to doing classic games and retro ports and stuff like that, like Mike and his whole team at Digital Clips, they are the masters at that. So anyway, so we go to Mike's home, and I get to go to his basement where he's got literally 6,000 games in there. We actually shot a full episode of Level Up when I was at Sun in his basement. We had a full camera crew out, and, you know, lit up the whole space, everything. So anyway, we go down there, and my brain is exploding, right?
Right.
And he goes, this is the first night I'm meeting him. He goes, you know what? I've got something for you. And he comes out with this board, and he goes, you're one of the few people that when they come, you know, they come into this room, understand what they're looking at. I'd like you to have this. So I get this board in a Dell like motherboard box, and the capacitor on it is like the size of a Red Bull can, you know?
Right.
I'm going through TSA on the way back home, and the person at the TSA, you know, stops me, and they open up the box and they look at it and they shut it. And I grab it and I open it back up. I'm like, do you know what this is? I'm so excited. And I'm telling this young, you know, person about this. And they're just like, I don't even, Pong, like the thing with the square ball. And I'm like, yeah, thanks a whole lot. The best part for me, though, was when we opened the Art of Video Games in 2012, Nolan Bushnell came out to do the opening keynote, and I brought the board with me. And I got this wonderful, yes. And I got this wonderful picture of him looking at this. He's like, I've not seen one of these in like 30 years that say syzygy on it, you know?
Right.
And so for me to have it come completely full circle, the stuff that I started at when I was a kid to where I am with one of the creators of that, right?
I remember when I met Nolan the first time, I was fanboying out. I was out of my mind. And I remember we met at Comic-Con, and we became friends, and we're on Facebook, and I know his son. And it completely freaked me out. Like 10-year-old Larry would be out of his mind. Out of his mind if he knew that, right?
Exactly. I have a picture with me, Nolan, and my mother, and I'm like, how is this? Like in my brain, the 10-year-old me is like, what?
Yeah, it's also because, you know, I grew up in New England. Where did you grow up again?
I grew up in New York.
Okay, so the video games industry was a foreign planet. It's not like the internet where everything's so close and everything.
Yeah.
You know, when you and I were growing up, we had to go to the corner video game store or the computer store in the back where they were in the Ziploc bags and that whole thing. And
or we were typing in games from our magazines, right?
Yeah, exactly. So to these people were mythical because we never saw them, maybe because they weren't doing video. We were in a magazine. We never saw videos of them or interviews. So when you meet them up close, it's mind blowing.
It is.
Anyway,
I'm right there with you, and I think, much like you, for me, one of the things that allows you to have longevity here is because you are not just a fan of them. You want to help that work get out into the world.
Yes.
You want to help more of this magic, right, to appear in our world. And yeah, there are a few people that I get tongue-tied around anymore. You know, obviously I sat down, I did an interview with Hideo Kojima at the Art of Video Games, and I go back and I listen to it and I cringe because I'm trying to be so serious, you know. Okay, you know, Kojima-san back in, and I'm like, that's not me. And anybody listen to it's just like, who are you trying to imitate? Right. But then it's, I had the chance to meet Roberta Williams a few years ago. And I was like, I mean, just kind of like tensed up and was just like, oh, I think I love you, you know?
Yeah. It's weird because a lot of people don't do that for me. You know, I've had the chance to meet Bill Gates and I've interviewed Bill and I was nervous, but I was, again, because you and I are professionals, we're like, okay, we're doing a job.
Right.
We're interviewing him and that's what it is. You got to just take those nerves and put them away. But
and they're human beings too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The thing that I find, folks, is that if you just ask people questions about people want to talk about themselves. People are just people. It doesn't matter the level that they climb to. Right. And so it is important to remember that at the end of the fame or infamy or money or everything else, I always say at 2:30 in the morning, everybody's exactly the same. You're wake up in the middle of the night and you're worried about your health and your family and, you know, all of these things, right? So treat people gently. We are fragile creatures, right? Just in general. Empathy goes a long way, and it's something that we would be mindful to kind of remember for everybody. People that have success to people that are facing, you know, challenges, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I try to over index. Not over index. That's not a fair term, but I'm very conscious of my position and my gift in life. Yeah, and I want to be kind and give back any way that I can. I'm on LinkedIn all the time saying, hey, if you guys want to, I've done hundreds of one-on-one interviews and calls and helping people that are young in career or old in career just to understand the video game industry and just kind of mentor them a little bit because I enjoy helping people and being another voice and giving the gift that you and I have that turned the hair into gray, which is that wisdom and that experience.
Yeah. No, the absolute same. Hey, look, I know we're coming up at the end of the hour here.
Yes, we are.
And so again, you know, this is the first one out of the gate. Larry and I finally sat down and said,
it may not even air. We don't know. You'll know it when you see it.
We're going to put this one out there. But the whole point of it was, hey, let's just get something in the can so we can start talking about this
and react to it.
That's right. That is exactly right. And you know, one of the things, a good friend of mine, Kevin James, when I had gone to a group of people and said, hey, you know, Larry and I are thinking about doing this. You know, what would be a good name? And they're like, well, the two of you, again, kind of sound alike, look alike, same age, right. Doppelgamers. And I was like, yes, Doppelgamers sounds really fantastic, right? And so that's what we're calling this experiment that we're going forward with. And I'm just excited that you and I are going to have on the calendar these blocks of times to talk about the industry, what we're passionate about, the things we want to build, advice for people, you know, just extraordinary.
And you never know. We may also bring on a guest or two.
Perhaps, yes. Yeah, we're talking about that for sure. But Larry, you know, again, thank you so much for reaching out, right? At the end of last year, it was one of these things, right, where it was such a joy to hear from you.
It had to happen. It had to happen.
It did. It absolutely did. So
thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, all right. Well, that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for our very first episode of Doppelgamers. So, looking for your feedback. And Larry, thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks, gang. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.